As bizarre as it seems, the current day and newly rebranded Aston Martin team has its roots traced back as far as the Jordan Grand Prix team. But how are these two teams connected with one another? Let us now go through how Jordan Grand Prix became Aston Martin. Jordan Grand Prix was founded by Irish businessman Eddie Jordan. The team made its first ever appearance in the 1983 British Formula 3 Championship. It then jumped into International Formula 3000 after, and the constructor would have its driver Jean Alesi win that championship. 1991 would finally be the season where Jordan made the jump into Formula 1 with Ford engines. And they'd have a successful debut as well, finishing 5th in the constructors, and Italian driver Andrea De Cesaris would give Jordan the two best team finishes at the time of 4th at back-to-back events at Canada and Mexico. They would additionally give Michael Schumacher his maiden race appearance. 1992 and 1993 saw the Irish team struggle as they opted for cheaper Yamaha and then Hart engines. The team was riddled with mass retirements, which saw the constructor finish 11th in the team standings for both seasons. Fortunes for the team turned around in 1994, where second-year driver Rubens Barrichello claimed the team's first ever podium at the Pacific Grand Prix, but was also nearly killed in what was the worst F1 race weekend ever at San Marino. Consistent points finishes from Barrichello in particular saw Jordan finish 5th with 28 points scored by the team, their greatest points tally to date. Additionally, Barrichello secured the team's first ever pole position at a rain-affected Belgium. 1995 was to be slightly worse for the team now equipped with Peugeot engines, but they still managed 6th overall in the constructors, and one of their cars finished in 2nd place, achieved by Barrichello at Canada. It was in 1996 where Jordan now adopted their famous gold and then in the future their yellow livery scheme, thanks to a big sponsorship deal with Benson and Hedges. However, this didn't translate into any podium finishes for the season. In saying this, Jordan drivers Barrichello and new teammate Martin Brundle managed to score enough points for the team to secure 5th place with 22 points, scoring one more point than what the team managed in 1995. It was in the late 90s where Jordan peaked. Their new, yet inexperienced driver lineup of Ralf Schumacher and Giancarlo Fisichella proved to be a success. Each driver scored at least a podium, highlighted with Fisichella's 2nd place finish at Belgium, and both consistently finished in the points. And if Ralf hadn't gotten 10 retirements for the season with liability issues, then they could have finished higher than 5th, where they scored a then best tally of 33 points. With new Mugen Honda engines for 1998, Jordan would further climb the ranks despite the constructor not scoring a single point in the first half of the season. They would start scoring points consistently at the other half of the year, and they would finally go on to clinch their first ever win at the memorable Belgian Grand Prix race with their signing for the year in Damon Hill. Jordan actually claimed a 1-2 finish here with Ralf in 2nd place, the only 1-2 finish as a constructor in F1. And with Ralf getting podiums in back-to-back races, this helped Jordan finish 4th in the constructors with 34 points, just 4 points behind Williams. 1999 would be Jordan's best season, massively fueled by new driver signing Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Frentzen scored 2 wins for the team as well as 6 podiums overall. Unfortunately, Damon Hill could only score 7 points for the team in his final season compared to Frentzen's 54, as Jordan still comfortably finished 3rd in the constructors, easily the team's best ever standing. 2000 was sadly the start of the end for Jordan. They had been relegated into the midfield pack now, and although Frentzen managed to score a couple podiums, the team could only manage 6th overall. As Mugen left F1 in 2000, Jordan then just simply used the Works Honda engines, which saw minor improvements. And although the talking point for Jordan's season was the sensational sacking of Frentzen, Jarno Trulli was able to continue to scrap enough points for the team to finish 5th with 19 points. A tally they'd never reach again, as 2002 was to be their worst season points-wise since 1993, as a returning Giancarlo Fisichella and rookie Takuma Sato could only manage 9 points between the pair, but it was still good for 6th in the constructors amazingly. 2003 was when Jordan, now powered by Cosworth, started to really struggle financially. Although Fisichella managed to win the 2003 Brazilian Grand Prix in one of the most bizarre races ever, the season was to be disappointing despite scoring more points this year than in 2002. However, 13 points this time around was only good for 9th, and they would finish 9th again in the final 2 seasons on the grid in 2004 and 2005. But in the last year, Thiago Monteiro did score the team a 3rd place finish in 2005, but only thanks to the United States Grand Prix, which had just 6 runners because of the Michelin fiasco. Eddie Jordan ended up selling the team to the Midland Group for $60 million, who entered the 2006 season as Midland F1 Racing. It was more the same as Midland were confined to the back of the pack with Monteiro and Christian Albers. Neither would score a point, and Midland finished 10th out of 11 constructors as the team was sold to Spiker for about $107 million. And just like Midland, Spiker F1 was mainly at the back of the grid, but at least they did manage to score a point thanks to Adrian Sutil's 8th place finish at Japan, and only finished 10th in the team standings thanks to McLaren's exclusion from the title that year. The team was once again sold, this time to an consortium called Orange India, consisting of businessmen Vijay Malaya and Mikhail Mol for €88 million. The team competed as Force India and had a forgetful 2008 season going pointless, only beating Super Aguri, who pulled out just after 4 races. An engine switch from Ferrari to Mercedes in 2009 proved to be a good move for the team. Even though they struggled for most of the season, Giancarlo Fisichella gave Force India the first ever pole at Spa and converted this to a second place finish, while Adrian Sutil managed to finish 4th as well at Monza at the following race, helping Force India get 9th spot in the constructors and would improve to 7th in 2010 thanks to solid points finishes from Sutil and Vitantonio Liuzzi. 2011 would be a very similar story, as both Sutil and new driver Paul Di Resta continued to consistently score points to help the team again improve to 6th overall, even though they only scored one more point in 2011 with 69 points compared to the 68 achieved in 2010. Although the team would drop in the constructors to 7th in 2012, they actually drastically improved their points tally all the way up to 109 points, but ultimately slipped thanks to a tighter battle in the improved midfield runners despite the best efforts of Paul Di Resta and Nico Hulkenberg. The exact opposite happened in 2013, where even though the team scored fewer points, 107 against 109, the Indian licensed team lifted to 6th in the constructors with Sutil and Di Resta. Having opted for a new driver lineup for 2014 in Sergio Perez and Nico Hulkenberg, which would remain for 3 seasons, Force India had their then best season, scoring points at every race barring double retirements at both Hungary and the USA. Their highlight in 2014 was definitely when Sergio Perez claimed a podium spot for Force India for the first time in roughly 4.5 years, finishing 3rd at Bahrain as Force India finished with 155 points, but like in 2013, they couldn't shake off 6th. Although the team were nearly in financial collapse at the start of the 2015 season, where they had difficulty paying suppliers, and even missed day 1 of pre-season testing duties, but it didn't deter Force India much, and they were still able to score some very solid points for the season, albeit the bulk of the points did come in the second half of the year. This was highlighted by another podium finish for Sergio Perez at Russia. Although Force India couldn't improve their points tally with 136 this time around, they did claim 5th. Continued improvement was again evident with Force India in 2016, as once again, both Perez and Hulkenberg, albeit with a slow opening 5 rounds, would again go on a tear. Particularly Perez, who finished in the podium places twice in a 3-race stretch. And with a lot of these points finishes being in the top 7, Force India were able to catapult themselves in the constructors to 4th with 173 points. And 4th place is where the team would end up again in 2017 with their new Pink Panther livery in what would be Force India's best year. With Perez now joined by Esteban Ocon, Force India would have both cars score at 16 races for the year and would have at least one of their cars score at every other race barring the Monaco Grand Prix that year. But even with that success, Perez and Ocon had a very heated rivalry and would clash multiple times over the season, but some would argue that this elevated the performances of both drivers. Despite the highest points tally achieved with 187 points, Force India did not score a podium in 2017. 2018 would be Force India's final year in the sport and wouldn't see the season out in their current guise. And aside from yet another 3rd place produced by Perez at Azerbaijan, the team was put into administration after the Hungarian Grand Prix, which at that point were 6th in the constructors with 59 points, as they were excluded from the championship. The team's assets ended up being sold to a consortium led by Lawrence Stroll. In terms of legal issues, however, put simply, because the consortium were able to buy the assets, but not the actual shares in the team had to race under a new entity named Racing Point Force India. This would be shortened to just Racing Point in 2019. They were much better for the final 9 races of the season, scoring 52 points overall and still managed to put the team 7th. They would have been top 5 if not for the earlier exclusion of the original Force India. 2019 saw Lance Stroll replace Esteban Ocon, and the team would for the most part have a slow first half of the year, where they were all the way down in 8th and only 5 points ahead of Haas after the Hungarian Grand Prix. From Belgium onwards, team results improved, with Perez in particular going on to finish in the points in 8 of the final 9 races as they scraped their way to 7th in the Constructors' Championship. 2020 saw the team adopt the strategy of replicating as much of the 2019 championship winning Mercedes as possible, and it was an idea that paid off immensely as the team became one of the leaders in the higher midfield positions, as Perez and Stroll would both feature on the podium twice, with Perez claiming the team's first ever win at the Sakhir Grand Prix as well as the second place at Turkey. Stroll additionally sealed 2 third place finishes at Italy and the second Bahrain race. He additionally claimed Racing Point's first and only pole position at Turkey. Racing Point would have been third in the Constructors too, if not for losing 15 points thanks to illegal brake ducts, but they still easily managed 4th with 195 points, 7 behind McLaren. It was announced in 2020 that the team would commercially rebrand to Aston Martin for 2021, and with the new driver acquisition of Sebastian Vettel alongside Lance Stroll, it could be another great year for the team as they truly look to become one of the front runners. Although the original Jordan team technically didn't get transferred on legal grounds, the origin still clearly remains. It has been quite a journey from the 90s until now, but hopefully now we'll see Aston Martin in F1 for a very long time. How do you think Aston Martin will go this season? What are your favourite memories of the journey from Jordan to Aston Martin? Subscribe to the channel for more content, and don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed it.